Alright, I have two Stampedes on the bench today because we're looking at this metal gear set from Lytake that replaces, I believe, all of the Stampede gears. Has a pinion, apparently a little spacer, this big two-level guy, two of these guys, and apparently two nylon washers. One of these are both stock right now, and with a LiPo just stuck in the battery tray, we have kind of a, on this one we have, and on this one we have, I don't know how that sounds on the camera, but to me, they sound pretty equal as far as just the noise the gear train makes, the noise the motor makes, stuff like that. They sound very equal. One of these I'll be leaving stock, the other one I'll be adding these gears to. We'll be analyzing the gears as we take out the old ones from the one Stampede, comparing them to their plastic counterparts, seeing how the machining is, and then once everything is installed, we'll be comparing them side to side to see if there's any extra workload. I mean, being heavier gears, that's all a lot more rotating mass. See if there's any noise on the teeth as far as gear whine, and just do some tests. Gonna go ahead and leave the stock spring load in for now and test everything just to see how it works as a direct replacement. Then later, perhaps I will investigate seeing how much of a spring load it'll handle. To my recollection, I think it's about the 8 to 9 kilogram is kind of the max before it starts destroying gears. So I might try that later. We'll see how this goes first to see if it's even worth pursuing that option. So we'll go ahead and eliminate one of these Stampedes, open up the other one, and kind of see what we're looking at. Okay, just got the cover off of the motor box, or off of the gearbox. I don't recall ever having one of these apart before, so I did index the gears as far as this seems to be the first one, second, third, just so I can put it back correctly. So let's go ahead and pull these apart. Wow, gonna be a heck of a weight difference here. These are like actually remarkably light, especially since it has spokes in there with the material removed for weight, I guess, and this is just a big solid chunk of metal. So I do wonder how much we're gonna lose as far as the snappy response, because we have, you know, very, very heavy components here as opposed to really, really light ones. So I don't know if that's, if they're moving fast enough to really cause an issue, but we'll be able to tell that with the side-to-side comparison later. So let's see, the guy fits like that, that guy fits there. This guy fit like that, I believe. So let's kind of just take a look at how the gears mesh here. It's actually, I do have to say, I was expecting a lot worse on these gears. I was expecting a little more kind of flashing around the sides of the teeth, or just looking a lot more rough cast. But these actually look like machined surfaces, and where they're held together, they are actually look like they're pressed fit and pinned. You can see the little pin in there and everything, and especially on this big guy, there's a little pin in there. So that's one thing I was a little unsure of, as far as if it would, if this is just kind of a pressed fit and pray kind of situation where this might work loose later on. But looking at it, these teeth here, they feel kind of snuggish, but that's kind of pushing them together. Whereas I think they're supposed to just kind of loosely fit together, and that's actually really a lot smoother than I expected. And that's dry. It does come with this tube of grease. Clever. So that hopefully will help alleviate any snagginess, I guess, or any of the, these, help this work a little better. Unfortunately, the gigantic gear, which actually moves the rack of the plunger here, is still the cast piece, and I don't know what is the failure point on the, actually it might be that guy. He's all kind of lightweight inside. So yeah, hopefully because this is a larger gear, then it doesn't have quite the weak points that the smaller ones had. But this would be a rather expensive piece and a heavy son of a gun if it was a metal piece. So hopefully these guys were the weak links, so to speak. It does come with the little brass pinion, and I'll push this guy out in a second. I just want to kind of fit these guys in dry. Actually fits nice. Huh? Yeah, actually, huh. Okay. Everybody seems to be meshing pretty well. It would be nice if I was being picky to see, well, a little less slop on these axles. Kind of pull this any closer a little bit. There is a bit of slop here on the shafts. Not so much that one, but this one. Oh, or is that because? Haha. Let's see. Maybe I shouldn't judge so soon. Is this a sleeve that fits over this guy that takes up that slack? Hey, oh, hey, yeah, look at that. Alrighty. Well, shame on me for judging. But, oh yeah. Okay, hey, yeah, alright. That feels a lot better. Okie dokie. Yeah, I just need to press this guy on a little further, because he's going to fit on... How far? All the way down there, so he gets pushed on. Like, all the way? Oh, okay, okay. Alright. What I was just saying a minute ago about there being too much slop, that actually... There's a little bit of play in the gears, but I would prefer, under the circumstances, there to be a little extra play than for it to be too tight and binding up a little bit. But they do seem to interact smoothly. I mean, there's no binding that would indicate that the main holes are off-center and having kind of a bit of an eccentric effect. The gears seem to be cut nice and even. There's no binding on the gears themselves as far as chattering, as far as being like irregularly cut on the gears. So that's, okay. Like I said, the only unfortunate thing so far is the fact that we still have the plastic, this guy, but hopefully, like I said, he's not the weak link. So let's, what are these guys for? Where do these guys go? They go there? Hello? That's all that makes sense for me for those bushings, but I really don't like the look of that. They don't seem to fit right. Maybe that'll become a little more obvious later. Okay, so just for the heck of it, we'll go ahead and put the cap on this and play with the pinion on the motor. Okay, and this is where things get a little bit nervous, just because this is a brass press-on bushing, and it may not want to come off too easily, nor is it going to want to go on too easily. So how do I put this guy on without destroying the back of the motor? Alright, well I did have to eliminate the little PCB on the back of the motor so that I could get to the back of the motor shaft so that I could press on the little brass pinion gear here. So I'm hoping that doesn't affect the results too much. I mean, it's going to be a good thing since direct wiring is always better, but as far as a direct comparison from the unmodified one to the one with the metal gears, I didn't want to change things up too much, so it's still running through all the switches and all the junk. All I did was remove this so that I could get to the back of the motor shaft. So this would obviously be a lot easier if, well, you had it all apart, since you do have to take the motor and stuff out, go ahead and eliminate the unnecessary wiring, the EMF things, the locks, and whatever else you wanted to do will obviously be a bonus. But there again, for the sake of direct comparison, this is as far as I'm going for right now. But I got this guy pushed on just to where it's flush with the end, and I just did that by just because the shaft does stick out the back just far enough that you can brace against that and then press this guy in. So I got that on there, so I'll go ahead and install him. Okay, got that guy on there. Everybody seems to be rotating okay, so we'll go ahead and see about just seeing how the gears act while you have them in here, just so we can kind of see how well they're meshing together and stuff. So got that lock in there. Here again, this would be easier to eliminate all these locks, but you know what you're gonna do. Okay. Well, this really seemed to be meshing really well. Like, not noticing any wobbling of any kind. They're chattering a little bit, which I guess would be expected from a set of new gears regardless. So I think we'll go ahead and put some of this tube grease in there and run it for a second, then we'll close it up and install the components back in and just see how they react. Now I'm just adding a little bit more of this lube stuff on more of the potentially plastic interfacing surfaces, just because plastic on plastic isn't bad, but metal on plastic will be a little more aggressive. So just to be safe. Okay, we are functioning now, so I think we can go ahead and reassemble it and see how we feel. Alright, well, my camera had died, and so I replaced the battery and apparently neglected to turn the to actually start recording again. I forgot to push the button apparently, silly me. So I will not go back and stage my reaction to things. I'll simply state that after having installed the metal gears, there seems to be no noticeable difference in as far as unusual whine of any kind, the way you sometimes get with straight cut gears, especially metal gears. But the I don't know if it'll show up on the camera microphone, but sounds pretty good. The only difference between the two is the upgraded gears in here, and that I removed this piece, which shouldn't have made any difference, so I don't know why this one seems to be firing slightly quicker. I did have to bypass the power switch on this one because the switch literally fell apart in my hands as I took the blaster apart. So maybe that was just a super restrictive switch or what. But regardless, the only other changes is the gears themselves. But there's no unusual noise, there's no no binding. The gears are actually very impressive for what they are. They run about $30, I believe, 30, 35. I think they're 30 when I got these. But they're machined well. The center line or the center hole of the gears seem to be machined dead center. There's no wobbling on either axis of the gears themselves. No weird machining marks, no casting flash of any kind. The teeth themselves on the gears seem to be machined well. Actually kind of impressive for what they are. It would be cool if they're a little bit lighter weight. There are some aluminum ones on the market right now that I don't know anything about. They're pretty fresh on the market. But as far as if you need to upgrade your gears in your Stampede, if you're running a slightly higher spring load, then I would say these seem to be a solid product. It depends on. I have not yet put an upgraded spring in. I intend on doing that in the future. And if I have any issues with that, then I'll have another video kind of as a kind of a rebuttal to this video, or an amendment, just to say what my experience was. But as far as the gears themselves as a direct replacement, dropped in, there was no issues. At this point, I still do not know what these little washers were for. I tried to fit them in a few spots, and they didn't seem to want to go anywhere, and there didn't seem to be any need for them anywhere. So I'm going to run it as is. If I have any issues, and these apparently need to go somewhere, or if I learn anything, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But as far as a direct replacement, they dropped in with no issues, and seem to be running fine. I'll go ahead and, like I said, if I have any issues in the future, then we'll revisit that in a later video. But I'll go ahead and put all the buying information in the description below, and if you want to pick up a set for yourself, and I'll talk to you next time.